Middlekauff! Heavy!
John and Bronco Country. Let's ride. Is that working for anybody?
Let's ride, baby. Let's ride.
Huh? What do you think? You can get Let's Ride t-shirts actually already. Russell Wilson catchphrase. Let's ride. If anybody missed the Russell Wilson press conference / interview, NFL Network did a mashup of all his Let's Rides. It's like Let's Go. It's like Tom's Let's Go, I guess.
Did you see the thing that I reposted to Instagram that the NFL also put up about Brandon Staley and his new pass rusher?
No.
I guess he talks about Khalil Mack all the time as like his example of like, I've coached Khalil Mack, just all the times he said Khalil Mack since he's been a Charger coach 1 year, and it was like a match of like 20 Khalil Macks. I coach Khalil Mack. When are we doing Khalil Mack?
Where did Brandon Staley coach Khalil Mack?
With the Chicago Bears. He got his start in the NFL with Vic Fangio. So
then was he in Denver before? But wasn't he in Denver before LA, or was he not?
He went with Fangio. Yeah.
That's a pretty quick rise. Chicago to Denver to the Rams to the Chargers. He fit in a lot during Khalil Mack's
His first year in the NFL. Think about this. His first year in the NFL. Khalil Mack's first year with them. Actually, it might have been his second. Maybe he was there and he.
So he made Khalil Mack, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, he did. This is not trying to shit on Brandon Staley.
What's up, everybody? Live on YouTube on Sunday afternoon, and if you listen to this podcast, that's great. We appreciate it. If you are watching live, subscribe and like the channel. If you are on YouTube, check out the podcast below. If you're on the podcast, check out the YouTube link in the description. As always, we're both places, so it's good to be here.
Easy peasy.
Did we do? I guess our last pod Thursday, we did a podcast. We finished the podcast, and then we did an emergency Davante Adams podcast like 45 minutes later, and they're both up. So
yeah, turns out it wasn't even the biggest trade of the week.
No,
but at the time it was pretty crazy when Davante. I mean, it still is. When Davante Adams is on the Raiders.
I'd say not the biggest trade because Deshaun, but Davante's better at his position than Deshaun is at his. Someone argues with me on that, but
no,
you buy that? Yeah,
I don't think it's arguable.
And it was a more shocking trade.
I think Deshaun not overrated, but like people talk about him like he's closer to top 3. Like no, he's like 6 through 9. He was a starting quarterback on a team that went 4-12. Again, like the guy. I mean, I'd take him as my quarterback, assuming he's not a serial, sexual assaulter, which is, the Browns. You see the Browns put out a statement today? Like, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, we did our due diligence.
He told us we're good. Well, yeah. If you offered me $230 million, there's literally nothing I wouldn't tell you. You know what? I mean, what do you think he's going to say? Yeah, actually did it, guys. 2 of them, might come out.
Deshaun top 5, says Christian on the stream.
He is not top 5. Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Tom fucking Brady. Did I say Aaron Rodgers?
You did?
Okay, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. Who else am I missing? Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is a better player than Deshaun Watson.
Joe Burrow?
Well, I mean, Deshaun hasn't played a year, but I'd say they're pretty similar. No.
Did you say Russ?
I did not.
Like Russ right now. Lamar Jackson?
He's had a better career than Deshaun Watson. We're acting like Deshaun like throw up some touchdowns. Again, good player. He had one spectacular year. So did Lamar. Yeah, no one's saying he's like 15th, but
he just became the highest paid quarterback.
Way more than Josh Allen. Would anyone take Josh Allen over or Deshaun?
Yes,
over
everyone would take Josh Allen over.
Yeah,
Deshaun.
I mean, also
pre-controversy.
Yeah, pre-controversy.
Yeah. On the stream, Jets Gang says Lamar ain't better than Watson. That's not what I meant to click on. I'm Elliot says Izzo and Coach K getting very interesting. Yeah, we've got that gives you an idea if you're listening to the recording what we're watching. The tournament is good. Tournament's very good. We were locked in. Actually, we went to Stadium Pub in Walnut Creek on Friday to hang out and watch some games. And one thing I'd forgotten about when you're just at a bar, and there were a ton of people there, especially like lunch hour, and you could tell it was just groups of like 4 dudes. Like every table was like groups of 2 to 4 dudes. That was it, right? Sometimes there were 6, but that's all. Every high table is just groups of a few dudes that know each other from the last 30 years, and or younger. And there was one table with 2 dudes. One had his laptop out. I couldn't tell if he was betting or working, or maybe both. But one thing that was cool about it was when you walked in, like there wasn't a bunch of USC fans. Like I saw Arizona fans around. I saw a lot of Arizona gear. I did not see any USC gear. So I don't think it was USC fans at this bar, John, that we were at. I just think USC Miami was a game that a lot of people bet on, because as that game got tight down the stretch, there was just something would happen, and we were both rooting for SC. Something would happen, and just you'd hear like someone over there yell. So, and then as the game there was more people yelling. And then, like, in crunch time, there were multiple people screaming at the same time. You kind of look around, and you look at people and be like, well, you got to see them. Be like, 2.5. How about you? I got him at 2. You know, like that kind of just unity that sports creates in a crowd of people is a beautiful thing. I missed it, and I loved it. It was my favorite part. I missed it, and I loved it. I enjoyed that.
You got to get back to being a sports fan, guy.
That's right.
You know, us Raider fans, you know, we root hard. So, you know,
Raider Sundays, John?
This is gonna sound maybe a little crazy, but it's a God honest, because you know it hit me. I was like, God, I woke up at like midnight. I had boxers on in my
Friday
bed.
Night?
Yeah, I was like, you didn't give me a ride home, did you? I walked home.
I offered twice. You're like, I'm good. I was like, all right.
Yeah,
You're like, I can walk. I was like,
I thought I walked home. It's not a very far walk. It's not a very far walk. I was pretty confident that I walked home.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have a car there, so I was walking or Ubering. I definitely walked home, but I think those car bombs hit me a little later. I was just drinking beer.
3 Irish car bombs mixed in with the beers that we were drinking. Yeah.
Was it 3 or 2?
Well, it wasn't 2. It might have been 4, but it was definitely not 2. I could say that confidently.
I just felt the spirit. Everyone talked about St. Patty's Day. It was a day late. It was Friday afternoon. But as I told you right when I walked in, and I say this to a lot, but it's also a reflection of me. Now, we got unique jobs. Does anyone work? And then it's also the tournament. So a lot of people, if you know, guys that went to bigger schools, I could never related to this because I wouldn't even take the day off if Cal Poly was playing it. Luckily I would have the opportunity to watch it wherever I am. But I understand Wisconsin. It's a big deal. Like when you went to these colleges, right? That tournament was massive. Your team was always making the tournament and making runs. Like I get it. A lot of people but that place was packed. You showed up 12:30. I mean, there was like one seat open. You're lucky. We were lucky.
I was lucky to get the table. Yeah,
yeah.
It was a good time, man. It was. I mean, the Thursday Friday is just. I know we talked about it on Thursday's pod, but going to a bar on a Friday midday, because you and I are in agreement on this life philosophy. Like the drinking that happens from like 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. I prefer that to the drinking that happens like 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. without even a question, right?
When I thrive.
It's just the sun's out. You can go to bed. I mean, it's just you can sleep great. It doesn't kill you the next day as much. That to me is the key. Like you're not sleeping till 11 the next day. I don't want to do that.
No.
So
you know where that place actually is pretty good too is you can get there Saturday at lunchtime and drink right until the sun goes down and go home and just watch, the midday game and then even a little bit of the afternoon game. It's that place has a good setup, does it not?
Oh, it's great. It's great. You pointed out the thing about if I ever had a bar, I'd have multiple entrances that are big, like big double doors or sliding doors, whatever, that are on opposite sides, so you get a really good airflow too. Like
helps the flow, yeah.
Nice key.
Yeah, good smells,
Let's see. Sunday did not start great for us. I would say college. Now these games are long. Like like North Carolina almost blew that big lead the other day, right? These games are long. Like you'll look up and you think a team's getting pounded, and then it'll be like they're down 9 and there's 12 minutes left. These college games, a lot can happen, but I feel like you can tell in the first 2 minutes, like, like we got we just made a good pick or we got a bad pick, or like Villanova immediately was like, Now, did Ohio State have a shot? I guess, kind of. I mean, the first game of the day, Illinois, very quickly, it was like, oh no. And again, they could have won the game, but it would have felt like stealing. You agree with that?
Yeah, but, things when it's the less talented team, like we were up against today, Villanova and Houston, who's just been really good the last couple of years. So you just can tell like they have a lot of talent. Like we had UCLA. And so you're just like, can the Gales keep this up? Because they were playing at such a high level, and it's just hard. You just can tell. They start running out of juice. But when you're playing these teams with horses and you've placed the underdog, when you get the wrong underdog, you're like, oh, shit, I'm getting fucking pounded here. The percentage of people that bet on St. Peter's had to be slim to none. Because, they have to be – there is no comparable to college basketball as there is to college football. And college football now is much bigger than college basketball. But this tournament, like I didn't watch really any college basketball all year long beside like the final Coach K game and the St. Mary's Gonzaga game that I think Fleming called it St. Mary's beat them. That was really cool. Those are the two college basketball games I basically watched start to finish. St. Mary's Gonzaga at St. Mary's and Coach K's final game. And I watched one Kansas Baylor game. You don't need – the best part about the tournament is you feel the intensity immediately, and obviously a huge part of it is the seeding, and you just get sucked in. What was the best game so far of the weekend? It was who did Memphis play?
Gonzaga.
That game was incredible.
Yeah.
That's as good of an entertainment product, like non-NFL playoff game, as you might get all year. Like the Masters might not be that good. Like that was riveting. That second half was, I mean, the NBA in the playoffs of all their games for 2 months might have 5 of those. Like that was elite. I mean, that was fucking elite entertainment.
It was.
Timmy, I mean, I didn't watch Larry Bird, but had this Larry Bird feel, and then Chet. But then Memphis has all these guys. It's like, God, how the hell is this a 9 seed?
Yeah.
And then you got Penny Hardaway, who keeps asking. I'm on a texting with a buddy that he's coaching the NBA. He's like, oh, they just ran Larry Brown's set that he used to run for Rip Hamilton. And you look, Larry Brown's sitting right next to him.
Larry was incredible. I saw Larry a couple times during the game, like jumping up, yelling at somebody. I'm like, Larry, first of all, full head of hair, white hair, but beautiful head of hair.
He's 81.
Incredible.
But then you also felt like, Few's he's got a squad. Like, you don't want to blow it right here. You're kind of, the historical importance of just what he's fighting.
Trying to win that first championship. There's nothing like the Red Sox haven't won, right? Like the teams now they've won. The Cubs. I'm not saying Gonzaga's the Red Sox or the Cubs, but there's something about it. Like how many chances are you really going to get to win a championship? You see how hard it is.
How weird is just he's not bad, and I'm not going to be a hater. Like I'm not just going to say he's going to fail in the NBA, but he looks different than anything we've ever seen. This Chet character.
I'm kind of betting on him too. I mean, he's a true freshman. He needs to put on some weight, but he's pretty skilled.
He ain't putting on weight though for a while, right?
It's going to take it's going to take a little while.
He's going to look like that for several years.
But you take him or Wiseman right now. That's cheating.
That's
cheating.
I take Kofi. How do you pronounce his last name?
That'd be Coburn, John.
Coburn.
Kofi Coburn.
Oh, the K is silent.
The K is and the C.
Do you think the Warriors right now would trade Wiseman straight up for Kofi?
I mean, I'd like to say yes, partly to be funny and partly because I think they might. On the other hand, Kofi we needed him today, John, and he did not deliver.
In fairness, he felt like one of their only.
He's getting triple teams. Yeah.
It had a little like LSU Shaq vibes, and he clearly is not LSU Shaq, but he was getting just hammered down there. Like some more rebounds out of him.
Yeah, I think I don't know what he finished with, but Houston rebounds. Like we're recording this before Arizona plays on Sunday night, but if Arizona beats who they play in the 9 seed, TCU,
yeah,
they play Houston. Houston is terrifying because they just play so hard. They're better. Arizona's better than them, but Houston just plays really hard and they defend, and they look like a bunch of strong safeties.
Feels like we're going to get a lot of commercials for UCLA, North Carolina. That's some brand recognition right there.
How great is that?
That's a pretty big boy game.
What's the best kind of blue? I guess they're similar. Deshaun got traded. We were actually at the bar when Deshaun got traded. Debated going live from the bar, but decided John wasn't comfortable being Jackson Mahomes. But Deshaun got traded for 3 1s, a third, a fourth, and a fifth. Honestly, this trade to the Browns. Trade should feel crazier, but it's just the whole situation overrides the fact that a really good quarterback changed teams, whether you have him top 5 or not. He is a top level quarterback. Like, when's he going to play? Is he any good? Is he a liability? I mean, it's a very weird situation. And I don't know, man. Part of it to me just shows, like, I think Stefanski's got his act together, and Deep Podesta's clearly it takes a lot of work to shake the stench of just a bad franchise, a franchise that has to take risks. They just gave him 238 fully guaranteed. I don't know.
I'm not giving the Browns like that much credit. They got their shit together. They just paid him $230 million.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying. I think Stefanski's I'm not saying they got him because they got their act together. I'm saying, of course, the Browns are the ones in this situation. Even though I think Stefanski's a high level coach and Paul DePodesta is a smart guy, it's going to take a lot of work for this not to turn out bad because they are in part because they're the Cleveland Browns. Like, they ended up with this guy.
Yeah, I mean, and we were talking at the bar as the information was coming out, like, they kind of did an FU to the NFL, right? With the way they structured this contract with the $1 million salary next year.
Yeah, this year.
Yeah, I mean, for this in the 2022 fall. What's your over-under on games he originally gets suspended for? Because he dragged. Regardless, it hit me last night.
10.
Everyone, we're all talking, where does he rank? He did not play a snap in 2021. That's pretty nuts. Right? It's like, well, you missed a season, season 5 of your career. What happened? Oh, I shattered my ankle, right? Oh, what happened? Oh, I got my shoulder caught in training camp. It blew. Was out for the year. Oh, got taken out game 2. What'd you do, Deshaun? Demanded a trade. Tony Busby versus Rusty Harden. We just sat out the year. Like, it's an unprecedented. I don't remember anyone sitting out the year non-injury. That's pretty. It hit me last night. Like, that's fucking nuts, isn't? Guys sat out the year. No, and on
not like Mike Vick in jail.
Not Mike Vick in jail. I guess Le'Veon sat out the franchise tag.
Not Calvin Ridley. What's his name? Will be sitting out this year.
Calvin Ridley.
Oh, it is Calvin Ridley.
But he's suspended. Non-suspended. He was not suspended. He just sat out the year.
Yeah.
That's
Le'Veon.
He took a stand against the franchise tag. He's the one. And how'd that go?
Not well.
No. Now, difference, I'm not saying Deshaun's different. Like, but still, doesn't happen. Non-suspension, non-injury.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Yeah.
Gave him $230 million?
So your point being, you can't just assume the guy that played for the Houston Texans the last time he was really good, that's the guy you're getting playing quarterback for you right now?
I think it's more just like you're just inheriting a different person than we saw before. Now, he might have been sleeping with those massage therapists at the time that he was thriving in 20. I think it's clear to say he was. But you just, the information has changed, right? Like, you're inheriting something that I just think it's pretty nuts. And the reason they got him, I think, just speaks to $230 million. It's just that simple.
Yeah. So what's your over-under on games? I said 10.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say something like that. I think it's an easy one, too, to be like the NFL. You're not just – I don't get any credit for last year. Like, you guys chose to do that.
And you got paid. So have you – is Jimmy Haslam like the NFL's favorite owner?
That's a hell of a question. Flying J. I mean, is he paying him with stolen trucker money?
Gronk did sit a whole year, says Rob on the stream.
He retired.
They tried to chase me to Detroit. I told him I'm retired.
But to me, retirement and comeback is different than what Deshaun. Deshaun didn't retire. Deshaun just refused to play.
No time served? I don't think so. I don't think the NFL is going to view it as time served by any stretch, nor should they.
They don't give a fuck. It has nothing to do with guilty or innocent. Deshaun deserves to get. He dragged the NFL, the Shield. Like, to me, he fits the bill of, like, if you told me to spend him 17 games, I wouldn't. I'd be like, I get it.
Yeah, I agree.
You don't get to just.
Especially when you structure the contract the way it's structured.
Yeah, and the way you drag.
Could they fine him?
Who?
Like, could the NFL say you're suspended for a year and we're fining you $10 million?
No, because that's like the CBA stuff.
There's a cap on it.
Why? No, I mean, there's just union.
Could they say we fine you in 2 years when your contract gets good, but this year you can play right away? I mean, we suspend you in 2 years.
Well, I think he made his mistake because he should have played this year and taken his suspension and got it over with. Because they would have suspended him this year.
Would they have before there was any resolution?
Yeah, you think?
That's the thing is that like the reason we're here today is because we just had the grand jury a week ago, right? And we're still waiting on all the civil cases, right? Like the reason we have something going on is because of the grand jury.
But a lot of people,
like the NFL could have suspended him last year. They didn't. It's not like the Texans put him on the field. Like
because it felt like he avoided it by not playing, and like we'll just push it out later.
Yeah,
to me that.
Remember,
who knows?
Don't forget, it started because he wanted to get traded. Had nothing to do with any lawsuit before anything came out. Remember, he was not going to play for the Texans. He was going to force a trade.
Yeah, the trade happened. Remember, he demanded the trade in like January, right?
Yeah, like he was going to sit out because he didn't want to play for them.
Yeah.
What a crazy situation.
I know. It's really kind of exhausting, and the thing is, it's not over yet, right?
Right. Well, that's why.
What's the suspension? That's why he's going to get suspended. Roger has proven like you don't get to drag the shield through the mud, and he created this. Like ultimately, it's not like if he's completely guilty and all he did was have consensual sex, and there's nothing illegal about that. Other guys got like the Zeke situation. Some of these other situations where guys were found quote unquote not guilty or nothing happened. They've proven that does not matter. Guys get off DUIs all the time, right? Like he didn't technically get a DUI, and the guy gets suspended.
Yeah. I do wonder if part of the reason. Now this is gonna. I think I'll say it, then we can debate it. And I said this to you on Friday. Like I wonder if part of the reason he went for the most money was preparing for the possibility that he's going to have to pay out money. Now you could argue, well, guys go for the most money all the time, and I'd say, yeah, you're right. If someone guaranteed you $230 million to go play in Belarus, he might take that. So. I don't know.
I don't know if that mattered.
But I do wonder if they're preparing for the possibility that they're going to have to cut some big checks.
He already is rich. That's the other thing. Like he has cash. But who knows? Maybe he's blown it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. Just spitballing. But you saw they signed what's his name? Jimmy's old backup.
But they also traded. It was kind of weird that because they had Case Keenum on the team, they traded him and get Jacoby
Brissett. Yeah, maybe they just like Jacoby Brissett as a starter more.
Yeah, if I got to start 10 games, can this guy win a 6 of the 10? And we don't feel as confident in Case, even though he coached Case, or he was an assistant on the staff in Minnesota when Case had that really good year. It's like you could argue, is there really that big of a difference between the two? Now they are a very analytically driven team. So maybe there are certain things that Jacoby does that they feel comfortable with in their scheme more than Case. Who knows?
Yeah.
But it feels like they're kind of in the same tier of player.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it's just simple as like analytic guy value. We can trade one guy and add a guy without actually losing anything. So it's like, boom, add an asset and replace it with a similar player that might be incrementally better. So it's just a wham bam move. Also, they're only paying him $1 million, right?
They better. So they're paying $2 million for the QB room this year?
Is that what Jacoby cost?
Well, you just said $1 million for. Oh, you're saying Deshaun for $1 million.
Yeah, I'm saying their quarterback room is so cheap.
Yeah, it's going to be it might be the cheapest quarterback room in the league.
Well, technically, Baker is on the like $18 million on the roster right
18.7. Let's not forget about that 0.7. 0.9 actually. 0.9.
Yeah,
sorry.
0.9. Like I know a lot of people gladly take a nice little 0.9.
Take the 0.9. Yeah. So. Actually, let's get to Baker or Jimmy. Before we do that, though, John, let's tell the people about our friends at Indeed. Indeed.com/ham. Right now at Indeed.com/ham, you get $75 off your first job post when you sponsor it. A sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/ham. Indeed.com/ham. Put your squad together.
Yep. And Indeed, guy, is the only job site when you're guaranteed to find quality applications that meet your must-have requirements, or else you don't pay. Instead of spending hours on multiple job sites, hoping to find candidates with the right skills, you just need one powerful hiring partner. That's where Indeed has you covered. With Indeed Instant Match, as soon as you sponsor a post, you get a short list of quality candidates with resumes on Indeed that match your job description, and you can invite them to apply right away. Plus, you only pay for quality applications that meet your must-have requirements. Indeed, come on, people. Indeed.com/ham.
With Instant Match, as soon as you sponsor a post, you get a short list of quality candidates with resumes on Indeed that match your job description, and you can invite them to apply right away. Plus, you only, like John said, pay for the quality. Pay for quality applicants that meet your must-have requirements. This is worth repeating. Plus, Indeed delivers 4 times more hires than all other job sites combined. Join more than 3 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. No matter how the last game went, anytime you take the field, you got to have a shot at greatness. So give your team the best shot. Get more MVPs on your squad. Starting right now, a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/ham. Offer valid through March 31st. Go to Indeed.com/ham for your $75 job credit before March 31st. Indeed.com/ham. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Indeed.
I'm always impressed when a athletics director hires a coach within like 3 days. Bam, got him.
Who was? Do you remember the AD's name that hired Mike Leach at Washington State?
Yeah.
Was he the Pizza Hut CEO?
Bill Moose.
Bill Moose. And they asked him.
CEO.
No, that was the Michigan guy, huh? Remember he was at Michigan.
Brandon.
Yeah. So I remember watching the press conference when he was going to go, and they asked him like, "What are you going to do for a search committee?" And his response is just an all-timer. You're looking at it, and it was like, I wish more ADs talk like that because that's a badass thing to say.
Yep, I know. That was a good one. He's the one that hired Scott. Did he hire Scott Frost at Nebraska? I think he did. Did he go to Nebraska? Is that where he went?
Yeah, I did.
Nebraska.
Which, was a good hire at the time,
It was. Things happen. All right, John. So the question is, who gets traded first? Baker Mayfield or Jimmy Garoppolo? There was an article, Mary Kay Cabot, who covers the Browns, wrote that Baker, the reason they had to get somebody else in there because Baker was gonna not show up if they didn't get Deshaun. That they actually turned away from Deshaun. They weren't going to get Deshaun. They were going to try and go back to Baker, and that became too difficult to go back to. Now, I think you and I both agree that they didn't want to go back to Baker. Eventually, they go to Deshaun, and they got Baker. So we all know about Jimmy's situation. Here's Baker's. He's 27 years old. He's on his 5th-year option, which, like you just said, pays him $18.9 million. And he has something in common with Jimmy Garoppolo in that he's also hurt. He's a hurt guy.
Shoulder injury. I was just pulling up Seattle's cap information. They got some wiggle room. They have some cap space. And I think that's a big reason. Now, I don't know if they knew this. They wouldn't have known at the time what was going to happen with the Browns because no one thought he was going to go to the Browns, so Baker would become available because they cut Bobby Wagner, and that saved him $20 million. It might have just been simple as like they didn't view, and this is why I had some people DM me, why didn't Seattle just trade Bobby Wagner? And I saw some people, like some NFL people, maybe it was Albert Breer. Like, I don't think a lot of people quite understand contracts. Like, why'd Robert Woods go for a 6 and Amari go for a 6? Because they make $18 and $20 million. If they had made $6 million,
and Robert Woods is coming off an injury too,
and he's coming up. But if Robert Woods, even off an ACL, was making $3 million, you probably get a 3rd-round pick for him, right?
Yeah,
or Amari Cooper had been making $11 million, you get. If Bobby Wagner was making $6 million, they could flip him for a 3rd. But he's making 20. No one was going to trade for him, so you have to cut him. But they do have a team that, and obviously losing Russell, they take a dead cap hit, but they still save a bunch of money. They do have the cap space to inherit Baker Mayfield's 18.7. Because a big difference of these two guys is one guy is $9 million more expensive if you are going to trade straight up for him. Now, what is your value of, I think Seattle is the one team that fits the bill of, they might overlook some of his cocky, people don't really like him. Right?
Overlook it. They might like it. Pete might like it.
Yeah, I think he would.
And we know their GM doesn't mind drafting a short quarterback.
True.
I saw
a little more mobile, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not. He is not Russ. Don't get me wrong.
No,
Sheil Kapadia of The Athletic, who covered the Eagles or covered the Eagles, now is national NFL writer, but covered the Seahawks. So I think this matters because he has some sense of Seattle. This is what he wrote. They can say what they want about Drew Lock, but I refuse to believe Seattle's going to put Lock out there as the starter week 1. The Seahawks could easily talk themselves into being competitive with Mayfield next year and figuring it out. Now, of course, Baker has informed John the Browns that the Colts are his desired destination. So cool on that. I said a while ago, I'll say it again. I think you tend to zig after you zagged. After you have a hard-ass coach, you go to a coach that loves guys up. How could you as Indianapolis go right back to Baker? It'd be one thing if it had never leaked. I think the Browns hurt themselves. Jimmy Haslam or whoever told more adult in the room, because no one would think they were nuts for going and getting like the talent, right? For saying we'd rather have Deshaun than Baker from just a talent standpoint. And it'd be like, no one would think, oh, they must hate Baker if they got Deshaun. They might just think, oh, they tried to upgrade because they're in a tough spot with Baker.
I agree.
But by making it clear that Baker is a bad apple, wherever you want to say, a loser, like it has made it more difficult for them. Now, maybe the Colts already know everything that the Browns know, but how could you possibly know everything? I mean, the Colts just got Carson.
Wouldn't you say the 49ers went out of their way? Now, again, it was true, but really went out of their way over the last year to prop up Jimmy and stand by Jimmy and support Jimmy.
And I think Jimmy had a thing, the situation with Trey Lance, there was an opportunity for him to show, I'm a professional here. And he did.
The one thing you would say is Baker's, again, to me, Baker has to go to Seattle. And I saw Mike Lombardi tweet out this weekend. And again, this is right when it happens, you're going to hold a higher value, that the Browns let everyone know they need a second-day pick for Baker. And his take was basically like, that's laughable. One, you just hurt his value by saying he's a slapdick. And two, he's not under contract, and he's not good enough to be like, well, we'll just figure it out. Like his non-contract for several years is a deterrent for a guy like, I'm not trading you much for someone I don't even know that much about. If anything, the arrow's pointing the wrong way. Injured character guy. So to me, Seattle is the one team that makes all the sense. I don't see any other team that makes any sense for Baker Mayfield. If he doesn't go to Seattle, I don't know where he goes. I really don't. Because I do not see Frank and they just got rid of Carson, who fit the same bill and who was better than Baker. Now, the Saints would maybe still be in the mix if you told me, Mickey and Sean loved Baker Mayfield. And there were rumors, right, for years, probably starting right around 16, 17 as Drew was getting older, how they were always like, they love this guy. They were clearly just sniffing around. So Mickey is going to have a specific take. Now, in our limited interaction with the guy, and not like he has that much juice, but he's now the head coach, Baker Mayfield does not seem like a Dennis Allen guy at all. So I could see Dennis pushing against that.
No, especially, Dennis would have an opinion on Jameis. He might just think he's a likable guy.
Went against him every day in practice, right?
Yeah.
2 years or one. Yeah. 2. Because he was the backup 2 years ago, right? And then he came back to be the starter this year.
Yeah. I think the other problem is like Baker's in this position where he needs to do the Trubisky thing. Like, I'll go be Josh Allen's backup, but he's making $18.7 million. He can't do it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, if they didn't have his fifth-year option, he'd probably, for his career, he might be in a better spot. Now, I would always rather make. He would have
been a free agent if they hadn't extended him.
Would have been a free agent, and maybe he ends up in Seattle, and that's not a terrible spot for him. And he makes $19 million, so that's also not terrible. But I'm with you. Like, ideally, you'd say, okay, pick a spot that might make sense if he was making nothing, where he'd go rehab, like Kansas City. I don't know, go rehab a little bit, just chill out, rehab, just show people, rehab physically, show people you can be a part of a team, and you'll get what Mitchell got. Like, you just play a couple games, make a couple nice throws. Someone will sign you next year.
Patriots liked him a lot.
Kind of an awkward thing if they like Mac would be to bring in Baker for $4 million, but yeah.
The Rams behind Stafford, just do something normal. Just do a place that's just credible. The Chiefs make a lot of sense. Behind Brady would make a lot of sense, right?
Denver might be weird. Yeah, but you're right. If he's not on the Seahawks, and that's the thing is he costs $18.9 million.
Yeah. To me, if Sam Darnold was making like $5 million, they're so desperate, I could see them. But Sam Darnold makes his fifth-year option money. So can you have two guys from the same draft on their fifth-year option and let them just battle it out? You technically could talk yourself into it.
It's not crazy. Here's the thing. This goes back to what you said. So I'm the Browns. I'm on the phone with David Tepper and the Panthers. And I'm like, all right, we want a third. And the Panthers are like, screw you. And you're like, well, what did you just trade for Sam Darnold last year? You traded a second and a fifth. So you're telling me Baker, who better than Sam Darnold's career so far, isn't worth a third after you traded a second and a fifth last year for Darnold?
And he said we regretted it immediately.
I know.
Now, the one thing with Seattle, because Seattle clearly been sniffing around with quarterbacks forever, the Panthers general manager is a Seattle guy, longtime Seattle guy. So it is hard to know. Kind of crazy how Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield's careers, it just shows you, and we talked about this last year in the draft, at the time, like, the excitement in Cleveland, the excitement with the New York Jets getting Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield. And now 4 or 5 years later, it's like those guys aren't sniffing contract extensions. And I say both of them, like, their teams that currently have them would do anything if they didn't have their fifth-year options. Would do anything. And Josh Allen is just a superstar, 7th. Everyone thought the Bills were insanity. Josh Rosen is hanging on to the NFL by a thread. And Lamar Jackson, who barely went in the first round, won an MVP. I mean, just, at the time, it's like, oh, my God, Trevor Lawrence can't miss. We could look in a couple years in Trevor Lawrence's career. Now, again, he's better, more talented, but you just never know. Injuries, weird shit. Just, these are humans in sports. These aren't widgets on an Excel spreadsheet. Like, things change quickly.
Really quickly. Yeah.
Fast. All of a sudden, you're like, in any draft, right? You're like, oh, my God. Aaron Donald at 11? Is this the greatest player ever? Like 3 years later. How did he fall to 11? But at the time, everyone's like, he's kind of short. Is he really that?
Totally.
You just do not know.
Like, where is
Howie Roseman took Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson.
You win some.
Now, the Vikings laughed. But they're both fired. Howie just got an extension.
I texted you this today, and I actually mean it. Do you think Howie Roseman has ever considered hiring Jay Wright in some capacity?
I bet they've just. I bet he's brought him over there and talked. I mean, I'm pretty sure doesn't Jay make like 7-8?
Yeah, Jay makes good money. All right, so who gets traded first, Jimmy Garoppolo or Baker Mayfield? That's the question we're trying to answer here.
I mean, Baker Mayfield. I think. I bet
Feels
Baker
like,
Mayfield.
right?
My guess would be the next couple days, because now it's like, don't you want to? They have Jacoby on the roster. It feels like they'll bring in, I could see them even like draft a guy in the 7th round, right? Because they're ultimately going to need a young guy once Deshaun start making huge money. If they like a guy in the 5th, 6th, 7th round, to just have a young guy around Deshaun. Jacoby's like a short-term deal. Feels like Baker's traded in the next 48 hours. I
think the one challenge with it, Seattle specifically, is you and I just watched that Seattle Seahawks press conference last week. Pete, like, it's one thing to say I love Drew Lock, and then several months later, Drew Lock isn't your starter. It's
number one pick in the draft, though. You're going to get. To me, it's like Baker. If Baker was like a 5th, he was the number one pick.
My point is, he just sat there last week and said, "Drew Lock, amazing," and the next week he's going to trade for Baker.
But he also said in there, in fairness, like, they might bring back Geno, competition. Like, no one. He didn't name Drew Lock the starter. I think it's easy if you'd be like, this guy was the number one pick in the draft. We had him as a top 5 player. We had the opportunity, and we traded a 4th round pick for him.
Yeah, I think if Baker gets traded to the Seahawks, then we're down for Jimmy Garoppolo. Then we're down, unless Kirk is missing somebody. We're down to the Saints, the Panthers, and the Colts, right? And I don't know that the Panthers, like, it feels like the Colts, John, have to get a quarterback this year.
They do not have a quarterback.
Like, it's
pretty nuts.
Like Sam Ehlinger cannot be their quarterback week 1. There's not a rookie that can be their quarterback week 1.
Yeah, they're fucked.
So, I mean,
I think is that why the Niners are holding strong?
It probably is, but candidates are falling off. The good thing for the Niners would be Baker going to Seattle, because Seattle is not a Jimmy Garoppolo destination.
If Baker were to go to Indy, it'd be pretty devastating to the brain trust that have held on this long.
And it would be a really crazy reflection, right? Because it'd be like, guys, how are you going from Carson to Baker?
It'd be a weird move for Indy too, for sure.
But I could see Indy going, younger guy, we're going to do the same thing we did last year with Baker, try and do it again, except this time we'll do it well. We'll get the most out of this guy. We believe in ourselves. Baker was a good quarterback in 2020. We can make him a good quarterback again. Talking yourself into it seems a little nuts, but could be done.
Yeah.
I could take this out of the podcast right now, what I'm about to say right now, because the comments are saying, like, are you guys watching the end of Duke, Michigan State? 6-point game. Duke up 6. We can just stream and hang for a second before we get back to football.
How much time's left?
Well, 50 seconds, but the clock's running. You never know. We could just give it a quick peek here. Everybody on the stream watching Duke, Michigan State right now. Duke is up by 6, 40 seconds left. You guys will be a little delayed if you're watching with us, but Michigan State just made a bucket, so it's a 4-point game. I mean, it could be, to me, this game just has a little extra, like it could be the end of Coach K's career if they lose. Now, the problem is going to be, well, only Michigan State, there's only one timeout left in the game. Michigan State's the only one with timeout left.
This has 7 minutes, but let's... Yeah.
I just give it, I say, a lot of people in the comments are like, are you guys watching this game right now?
No, we're working, people.
I know, but I do.
What was the spread in this game? 8.5?
I don't know. I think it was 6.5. I thought it was 6.5. I think the biggest line was Arizona tonight, 9.5.
Kind of like TCU tonight. Not to win the game, but I bet they keep it close.
I don't. I think it's a mismatch. Although Jamie Dixon, they're a slow down team. I think Arizona's just going to run on them. But, I'll also say I've watched TCU 0 times this year. So, take that for what it's worth. I'm Elliot says, this game was a little better around the 3-minute mark. Michigan State had the lead.
Well, I looked up, they were up 6 on ESPN.com, probably 4 minutes left. So when you said click it, I thought you were going to say Duke's down, and then they're up. I don't know what flipped.
St. Peter's. Is Calipari in hiding after losing to St. Peter's? I mean,
I thought it's a fireable offense, but I guess he survived.
All right, so now we're playing the foul game.
Oh my God!
So we don't have to do this.
No. I do. It's my one issue with basketball. The ending of games is like, holy fucking A.
I know.
It's not. It's just. You're right though. There's only. I mean, combined they have one timeout. So how you just foul? If they just foul back and forth forever.
But it's again, this game can end early if Duke makes free throws. I have no idea if this guy's a good free throw shooter or not. 75%. But he's not stepped to the line yet today. He gets the first. All right, that's a big one. 5-point game. This next one's big. Make it 6. So, easy fix. Foul is an automatic 2 points. I like the pressure of a guy standing at the free throw line. See some good free throw shooters miss shots the last couple days.
I mean, it just feels like there's just a shitload of pressure. My guess is Michigan State's going to come down.
Oh, he missed the second. Duke up 5.
He hits a 3. We got a ball game here.
Is he going to take one?
Yeah, fuck yeah, they are.
Wants a screen. Wow, Duke is defending. Oh! I mean, there was nothing like this, man.
I was kind of Coach K would get bounced.
Really? I am a big Izzo guy. I love Izzo. Yeah, so now we got a review coming. 16.5. Izzo has some Calipari in him, jokes and big moments. Did he joke during his sideline interview? I didn't see. I love Izzo. I remember I went to a Pistons Warrior game once. And Izzo was on the sideline with his wife. Couldn't have been nicer. Introducing his wife. Hey, I was like, hey, coach, I just want to introduce myself. He's like, oh, meet my wife. And he introduced his wife. Very nice guy.
This is the review that is just like, this is not basketball. It's going to be Michigan State ball.
Yeah.
Because it went off the Duke guy. But in no world in the history of basketball does Duke not get this ball.
You're saying the guy goes up 2 hands, somebody hits it from behind.
Yeah, but it's actually.
But it hits your fingertip last, even though the other guy hit it out of your hand.
Because it's in your hand. But in a pickup game, you just naturally the guy runs out and the other team gets it.
So I've been saying for years, pickup rules is how we should run. Charges, 9 out of 10 charges are terrible. I don't care what the rule says. And the fouling the jump shooter thing is, I'm losing my mind on the jump shooters. The worst, the pump, dude goes up and you lean into him. I thought we got that out of the game 2 years ago. I've been seeing it nonstop for the last 4 days. It's awful. You're right. That's off Duke, even though it shouldn't be.
But you could argue that is real. That's as clear. That's way clearer than some of these that happen in the NBA. But still, this is where the basketball purists that's bullshit, and it kind of is.
Yeah, I agree.
Because in the history of the game, it was never called that way. And no one had an issue with it. It was like, you can't come over my back.
Oh, and also, you knocked it out, right? It did clip my finger on the way, but I was holding it. The only reason it touched my hand last is because I was holding it. Then you knocked it out. It should be out on you. I agree. Matt says, did you see the tech for earlier hanging on the rim? Yes.
That was bad.
It was terrible. It was really terrible. Even Sterator was like, yeah, I do not agree with that call on Twitter.
Sterator used to do the NFL and college basketball?
Yeah, he's just like, there's currently, what's the guy's name? Big time ref, like one of the bigger name NFL refs who is also a college basketball ref right now.
Hockley's kid?
Not Hockley, not Hockley's kid.
Does Hockley's kid do college basketball too, though? I saw someone saying something.
Oh, really?
But I could be wrong.
Bill Vinovich, who's done like Super Bowls, is a college basketball referee.
I bet once you start doing college basketball, you might just like it, right? The flow of the game.
It's such a grind. These guys that do college basketball, some of these guys do like 5 games in a week. It's crazy.
How did they not give it to Michigan State?
Maybe they were basketball purists. Also hard. What was the initial call? Duke's ball. It might have just been hard to overturn it.
But it was clearly off his finger. See, like if you are,
what are
we doing? If you're gonna waste our time and then you don't even get the call,
I didn't see. I wasn't like, I'm not as close to my. I didn't think it was clear. I couldn't.
It was. The one angle they zoomed in, it was definitely off his finger. This is my issue.
To me, it looked kind of blurry. Was my problem with it.
You're gonna wait. You might once you're gonna stop it, then you just have to do like the letter of the law.
I'm guessing they just. I'm guessing they just went with their call. Bill Vinovich, hate that guy. Cost the Chiefs the Super Bowl. What did he do to the Chiefs? I have a feeling we'll be told here in a second. All right. I mean, this is a 6-point game. This guy makes this free throw. I think we can get back to the podcast.
Well, we'll just see if Michigan State has to come down. They'll have to hit a 3, and then they'll have to do it again. But if they miss, it'd be over.
How about Wisconsin, Iowa State is 28-27. 4 minutes into the second half. That's the score.
This game's 83-76.
Are they playing the same sport? Okay, there's a 3. All right, ball game. Holding on Bosa.
He's trying to claim that Vinovich gave the Chiefs the
cost the Niners. Got it.
Guys, people hold every game. I hate refs more than 99% of people. But I do not do like the holding stuff. It's like, oh fuck, we could do that all game. Now, if you want to do a specific call, yeah. But I mean, like,
offensive line, hands to the face, get rid of that.
But I'm just saying, like the issue, like Bosa gets held every game. They do not call it all the time. Like that's welcome. Now, if it's specific things like the Saints Rams, NFC Championship, like that is like that guy cost you the Super Bowl, like right, like even the Tuck rule guy. No, the Tuck rule was the correct call. With the letter of the law, they got it completely right. You didn't get fucked. The rule might be stupid, but the rule existed. To me, the holding thing is like in the history of the sport for 40 years with pass rushers. You think if you just like ask like Terrell Suggs or I don't know, just go to just different pass rushers throughout the years, like they get fucking held all the time. I just think that's such low level thinking.
I know.
Reminds me of the Raider people.
Let's before you start ripping Raider fans, John, let's get back to the podcast with this. Eric on the stream asked, I tried to find a dark horse team who could come out of nowhere for Jimmy, and I'm not sure I could find one. Could you guys? I mean, saying dark horse, so you're going to have to make the case. I'll make the case for one. What about the Detroit Lions? Their coach last year called out Jared Goff on at least one occasion, right? Not like Jared, I mean, like kind of felt like he was challenging his competitiveness. Now, I do think Jared played well after that. I don't know if you're looking up his final numbers or not. Doesn't seem like that would make sense to me in the front. But if we're looking for dark horse teams, they're hard to find. We just assume Goff is going to be the Lions quarterback again. What if the Lions wanted to make a change? What would their options be?
Well, how would they make a change, though, guy? The numbers I'm looking up would be the main number that matters, and that's he has
what's his dead cap?
$41 million.
Okay, so that's not an option. It's just hard to find. It's hard to find dark horse teams for Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah, because Carolina's not a dark horse. New Orleans is not a dark horse. The Colts are not a dark horse.
Yeah, I just don't think they exist.
Yeah, well, that was the guy's question. It's like, can you make the case? I mean, can you? No. Yeah. I think the list is the list.
And it feels like it's really just Indy and New Orleans. as long as Jameis is not there.
All right. We did an emergency podcast the other day after Davante Adams got traded to the Raiders by the Packers. And just a wild, wild story. And I think, the last few days have been spent by us, at least, with Raider fans that we see or that are in our DMs declaring the I wouldn't say they're declaring the AFC West won, but understandably, they're pretty fired up. Hell, I'm pretty fired up for them. I think this is going to be one of the biggest stories in the NFL this year, partly because it's Davante, partly because they got Chandler. It's Josh McDaniels' return. And who knows, by the time the season starts, Derek Carr might have a new contract. It's pretty incredible the amount of deserved attention the Raiders are going to be getting for the next several months.
Do you know who else is really fired up? The Fresno State football Twitter accounts and Instagram accounts and just the program. Like, it's a really big deal for the football program to have these two guys combined, right? I mean, it's the two best players in the NFL from the program, and now they're fucking teammates and they're best friends, and they have some of the most historic moments with the thing. I just think that we were talking about before we hopped on, the hype on this team is going to be bigger than it's been since Derek's been there. And I think it exceeds anything Gruden had, because I think it was pretty clear early on. A lot of people didn't take Gruden that seriously after he made some moves and some of his early draft picks. People kind of pulled back before he'd ever had won any games. In those first couple of years, I think people's opinions of him changed fast. Now Del Rio made the playoffs, and the expectations on that team returning the next year were really high.
Yeah.
Talking about winning the division, talking about being a Super Bowl type team. Now Derek was coming off a major injury, but by the time training camp happened, he was healthy. But that was a disaster. I mean, a complete disaster of a season. And ultimately, Jack Del Rio got fired at the end of the season for Jon Gruden. And you have to wonder, I know Mark had said since time passed, I was going to make that move whether we were a good team or a bad team if John was willing, and Jack kind of knew that. But I think it's pretty clear, it was getting ugly. I think the expectations for this team are going to be stupid because factoring in two things. They made the playoffs last year. They beat the Chargers in a must-win game. And, they did it with an interim coach. The difference, you would say Josh is a huge upgrade. One thing that was pretty clear with Rich, Josh is going to be the play caller. So if he can just bring his play calling ability, that's an upgrade. Josh is one of the best play callers in the league. But you would say one of Rich's redeeming qualities was he was an excellent just leader of the program. And you would say going back to Josh and just the New England guys in general, not their GMs. Their GMs are proven to be fucking wheelers and dealers. Caserio, Ziegler, Jason Light, my guy J-Rob in Tennessee. I mean, their
Pioli?
GMs. Actually, Pioli kind of resurrected his career with Dimitroff.
Dimitroff was the dealer. Dimitroff.
So Belichick clearly tells those guys some stuff. He doesn't teach his coaches. So to me, can Josh? Now I would say this: they haven't played anything. It does feel like Josh pretty comfortable in his own skin when you just watch him
agree.
Sit down with Chris Sims or whoever just in these settings. I saw him on with Dan Patrick, and it was maybe he figured this out because this is a different guy, and if he's that guy, then he'll be rich. But that to me is a question until you see it. But I'm not talking shit at all because he does feel like a different person than Brian Flores, who I had so many people tell me after the combine, man, the stories we were hearing from the Miami people, glad to get him out of the building. Patricia, people couldn't stand him. Joe Judge, completely over his head. Josh has a redeeming quality. Like Flores. Flores can coach D, Josh can coach O. The question with these guys is can they remember Patricia was telling the reporter to sit up straight? It's what do you even do? Patricia, you look like a slob.
Yeah, what are you talking about, bro? You don't use that pencil.
Josh doesn't feel like that right now based off the interviews I've seen him. It's just he feels like a very, very he knows what he's getting himself into and he's ready for it, which is a good thing. But I would say the one thing his redeeming quality was just felt like a grown-up in the room.
Yeah. But, I mean, to make they need more than that. In the AFC, you can't just be solid to make the playoffs in the AFC, right? A grown-up in the room stabilizes you a little bit, and they did make the playoffs. But to really compete in this division especially, you're going to have to be dynamic. And now it feels like The Raiders aren't just going to be good. The expectation is they're going to do it with style points. Like they're going to be cool, right? Like that's part of it, I think. That's part of the expectation. And you go back, like Derek is going to be an MVP, preseason MVP candidate. Like that chatter is going to happen. He's been one before. I mean, he finished third in the AP voting for the MVP the MVP voting, I should say, back in 2016 with 28 touchdowns, 6 picks. Because I think people are going to expect is he going to a career high for touchdowns this year? I mean, he's through 32 a second year. You'd say if he gets 31 and 8, that's a pretty good year, right?
I would say in the modern day of football, I think, if you're going to be a 35, $40 million quarterback, yeah, I mean, I think 35 to 40. Now, if Davante and Darren Waller play every game, I think could they not have 24 touchdowns between the two of them? Like they both feel like double-digit touchdown guys. And Renfro's a 5'6" guy, so boom. All of a sudden you're in your low 20s with 2 guys, and then you're already at 26, 27 with 3 guys. To me, that's pretty realistic. I mean, he's a top 3 tight end. The best
Renfro
wide
was 9
receiver
last year.
To me, that number comes down a little bit with Davante. But, because to me, Davante's going to take some of those.
I agree, but doesn't it feel like Renfro actually in the red zone, Josh is going to like him?
Yeah. But I think he's going to like Waller and Davante a lot, too.
yeah, I mean, you're right. It's how many somebody in the stream
think about
like the
once Ruggs thing happened, and remember Waller missed a bunch of games, like Derek.
Yeah.
It was actually pretty crazy how dominant Renfro could be. It's like, hey, guys, he's their best fucking player. I would try to cover this guy, and he was killing people. If Renfro gets 9 touchdowns with these 2 guys, I mean, are we talking about 38 touchdowns? Because to me, Davante's got 10. Like he's thrown to Davante. And Waller's just such a good player. Like health is a question with him after last season, but you would say if Darren Waller gives you 14 plus games, he's getting you 7, 8 touchdowns minimum, right?
Yep.
I think I'd say 35 touchdowns feels realistic.
I think it's realistic.
What do the Patriots also do? They throw little wheel routes to running backs a lot. That's a Brady special.
For 32 yards.
Yeah. Screen passes.
There's going to be some trick plays in there. Derek's going to lose. There's going to be a touchdown or 2 that the Raiders will throw that won't be Derek that threw it, right? Josh loves a couple of those.
Yeah, to me, if Davante can throw, they have a double pass on like a guy running back. Like Waller pretends to block, quick screen, then Waller goes and he throws across the field deep to Waller, something like that.
Yeah.
That's a Patriot special.
But I think this is the point of like the overarching conversation right now with the Raiders for the next several months is going to be not are they going to be good, but how good can they be, right? In a division that's just really tough. Like on this question comes, where did this go on the stream? From Marcus. Raiders over under 10 wins next season. If it's under, is it a failure? I'd say it's a failure because 9 wins doesn't get you the playoffs in the AFC. So yes,
I'd also say it feels like a failure. They won 10 games last year when their coach got fired on Monday night. They had their star wide receiver killed someone, is in jail, and they figured out a way to win 10 games. Now, it was
10 is the new 9.
10 is the new 9. Now you add Davante Adams and Chandler Jones. Now, to me, you don't need to win 13-14 for it to be a success. Like, you could go 10-7 and be a wild card team, given the division. That would feel successful and look better. Like, you could look like they didn't look. They really made the playoffs on grit and kind of craziness and just remarkable will, right? They could make the playoffs this year 10-7 or 11-6 off way more talent and like, damn, right? But have a very similar record.
Yeah, I think.
They won multiple overtime games, Guy. Wasn't it the Cowboy game, the Browns game? I think they were 4-1 in overtime last year. I remember hearing that stat late in the season.
What was the Zay Jones touchdown? Was that an overtime or regulation touchdown?
To who?
The like pop pass to not pop, but I guess like the high lofting touchdown walk off to Zay Jones. What game was that?
It's a good question.
Early in the year.
No, it would have been later in the year because Zay was right.
Oh, I guess post Ruggs. You're right. It would have been right after Ruggs.
I don't know.
But here's who they play next year. Okay. Obviously the division, which to me, I do think they'll beat the Broncos once. They'll beat the Chargers once. I expect that. at least. They play the Jags.
You're right. It was Ravens.
Oh, the Ravens. Oh, was that Monday night? Was that the opener?
Yeah.
That was a hell of a guy. That was crazy. They play the Texans. They play the Colts, who don't have a quarterback. Home games. They play the Cardinals at home. They play the Niners at home. They play at the Titans. They play at the Seahawks. Okay, they don't have. I mean, they're gonna. You and I are both low on the Seahawks. They play New England at home. They play at New Orleans. They play at Pittsburgh. I mean, they're going to be favored in a lot of these games. That if you had said a year or two ago, they're going to Pittsburgh, they're going to Seattle. Those games feel different than they feel right now.
I agree. Yeah.
So over 10 wins. I mean, but they're just the expectation is going to be really high.
Now the major difference is last year they swept Denver, and I think both times they went into Denver, the Raiders felt like they had the better team. That's not going to feel that way anymore. And while they split with the Chargers, I think a lot of Raider fans didn't take the Chargers that seriously. Like, the Chargers are going to be taken more seriously this year. I mean, they have one of to me, the Chargers have a top 2 or 3 roster on paper right now. Now, that does not, their franchise and their head coach, you know, I'm not a Brandon Staley guy, but their roster on paper is fucking unreal. And part of it is like they still, even with all their moves, they still have their first-round pick. So if they can turn that first-round pick where they miss the playoffs, what if they can move back 3 or 4 spots and maybe add another pick? Like, all of a sudden, they could have several draft picks to go along with their running back their offense. They need to add a bigger back. They added Khalil Mack, a defensive tackle from the Rams who's good, and J.C. Jackson. So their defense is just going to be better. And their quarterback just gets better. Yeah. So it's just, you know, in that game, for example, the game they won, which was, you know, one of the most dramatic games of the year, right? That Week 18 game after the Niners had just beat the Rams. That was sweet. Little stretch of football there for about 8 hours. Put this into context, because I think a lot of Raider fans have, oh, Herbert, and we get this a lot. You guys just, and it might not even just, I think people, if you're not you feel he gets overhyped. That game that the Raiders won 35-32 in overtime. Derek was 20 of 36 for 186 yards. Sometimes I forget this, but when you look at the numbers, Herbert threw 400 yards. I think Justin in that game it was not his fault. You know, I mean, his defense was a joke, and his coach was reckless. The Raiders won the game, and, you know, benefited from being at home. Now, you could argue if that game would have been SoFi, it probably would have been a heavy Raider fan too. But I just think that team is like. But my point is, those games against the Chargers and the Broncos, the margin for error was already small when the Chargers and Broncos weren't playoff teams. It's just going to be very, very difficult. And you'd be like, well, the Chiefs haven't done that much, which is kind of true. But
Juju for 2.7 or whatever that number is.
But the other thing is, Guy, them Kansas City Raider games were, one game was 48-9, and the other was 41-14. So you do the math. That's about 89. 9 and 14 is 89-21 is the total score.
Okay.
So if you know the analytic guys, they like to do point differential.
Yep.
Pretty big gap there.
That's not good.
That's a lot of points to shrink.
I think that Josh McDaniels and Derek Carr should be a good match. And the Davante thing, but you know, in terms of, they're going to have a lot of expectations on him. Derek's going to have high expectations. Josh is going to have, there's no honeymoon period here, I don't think, for Josh McDaniels. And I think they at least have the background to be prepared for it. I mean, Josh last was a head coach in 2010. It was a long time ago. I mean, Derek Carr was redshirting at Fresno State that year. And you and I know this, but Derek didn't redshirt his first year. He redshirted his second year at Fresno State. But that's how long ago it was. So that's how long it's been. Josh has been back to an assistant coach, waiting to become a head coach again. My point is, he's been waiting a long time. He's been through a lot. I would think he's going to be pretty deliberate. Derek, been in the league now 8 years. Finally played in a playoff game for the first time this last year. Like, these guys are both in positions to be able to handle expectations. Even though the Raiders have not, and Josh McDaniels as a head coach have not dealt with years and years of expectations and that kind of pressure. But I think when you've been through a lot of failure or waiting for your chance, working for your opportunity, all that kind of stuff, you know, there's the possibility that you are ready for these types of things. So in theory, these guys should be ready to to kind of do this together, and they should be comfortable with one another, given that they've both been waiting for this, to have this opportunity in front of them.
Well, you would say that Josh and Davante knows what it's like at the peak of the, top of the mountain, right?
Yeah.
Davante's been on one of the best teams since he showed up in the league. They have been in several NFC championship games. He's never played in a Super Bowl, but he's been right there, right? Several times, and in playoff game, played in a ton of playoff games. And obviously Josh has been part of one of the great dynasties we've ever seen. Now, not as the head lead guy, but as the right-hand man. Like, it was always like Josh was Bill's number 2. It was basically Bill, Tom, and Josh. Like, Josh, always felt like part of the group at the highest part of it, right? And Bill made it feel like that with him, and so did Tom. So
I think the interactions with Tom made it feel that way too. Like the ones that we saw, like clearly there was a Tom relied on Josh McDaniels, right?
And it was very
I think it's part
clear.
of what helped Bill O'Brien too.
When you say it was very clear too, now obviously Bill has influence and if he wants a play call, but like Josh was calling the offense, like that was Josh's offense,
right?
And to me, I do think Davante is just. I've seen him in huge games fucking dominate. Like, when Davante stepped on the field with Aaron Rodgers, like, they had everyone looking at them. He knows what it's like to have a target on your back. He's been a top receiver in the league for half a decade now, right? Every game he goes in, that entire defense has spent the entire week, how do we stop 17? So to me, those two are going. The question is, like, I would say Derek would probably say, I felt pressure for my whole career. That's you just naturally do as a quarterback. But this is, to me, a throwback to, I guess he fought it with Gruden, trying to prove his worth to Jon, right? But that was different than, like, they weren't even getting close to the playoffs up until this year. Remember, they had missed it back-to-back years by, like, several games. It was like, it felt like they were close, but they actually weren't.
I just think, too, like, Gruden turned out to be a roller coaster. His teams. Yeah. Like, it was not, the Raiders are solid. Their low watermark is they're a C-plus team, and they're just going to play like that all year long. They were all over the place. They'd be last year. Last year was not a good example, but every year it felt like they're good, they're not, they're good, they're not. What are they? And I do wonder if now there's just going to be a higher baseline of what they are.
Well,
some stability.
But again, so much happened. But the week he got fired, they started 3-0. They beat the Ravens in that crazy game, Monday Night Football. They go and they kind of take it to the Steelers. And then they win a good game against the Dolphins. They're 3-0. Then, they lose to the Chargers. I think it might have been a Thursday night game. Then the following week, they kind of get worked by the Bears. So it's like, what? That was a great example of, like, what is going on? You beat the Ravens and the Steelers, and then all of a sudden, a couple weeks later, you're getting fucking punked by the Bears at home.
What was the date on that game?
The Bears game?
Yeah.
That would have been 10-10-21.
Okay.
So they lose the Bears game. The next day, Monday Night Football, he gets fired. Resigned, whatever. Pretty crazy how fast
Ruggs
that
was like 3 weeks later.
Yeah, 2
Ruggs
weeks
was
later,
I just it was November 3rd.
So Ruggs like a
or
month
somewhere
later.
like that. November 2nd, November 3rd, November 4th.
John would have been, the thing that happened to John was 10-11-21.
Okay.
Because that following week they beat Denver. Where they might have had a bye. They might have had a bye and then they played Denver.
I remember feeling good about him that week.
Because remember, they were coming off a bye, and it was like, it just was a rally troop. We bet on them. That was a ham.
We bet on the Raiders a lot last year, and against. We did both.
They burned us against the Colts, I remember.
Yeah, we had some whiffs with them too. But Bears game was 2 days after the email leak. Oh, that's right. Was it a little? It says Mario on the stream. Was it a little weird? Was that Bears game a little weird?
That's
Must
not
have been.
True. Their first game after the leak was a win. Bears
no,
game
no,
was
no,
not
no,
after the leak.
No. He's saying the Bears. He's saying it leaked. They play the game, then Gruden gets fired, then they win.
But remember, the leak, it was just kind of a weak leak. Remember, there was just John was part of it, but it wasn't like that weird. I
thought like when it got weird, it was like a Friday or something like that.
Yeah, just one thing came out that John was a part of, but then
you're saying they
came
won
out
that
Monday
game
night.
that weekend?
No, they lost that game. He's right. Okay, I see what he's saying. Something came out about the football team and Gruden on a Friday. But it was kind of weird, but it wasn't that weird, I remember thinking. And then Monday night, after the Bears game, the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal does like quadruples down on everything he had said. Gay people, all the sexual stuff, right? Him and what's his name?
Bruce Allen.
So like every email came out. So I think maybe they threw it out there thinking he'd get fired or something would happen, but then nothing happened. He coached the game.
Mark was
weird.
like, I'm not doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
How could Mark have known? If you had told Mark this is where it would end up, he would have fired him on Saturday that week, right? Like 100%. Ended up with Chandler Jones, Davante Adams, Ziegler,
but I would say, and
get out of the money.
He would have waited. I think it worked out well.
That's true. He wouldn't want to do it without cause.
Was Gruden suing him, or is he just suing the league?
I don't know.
They did keep Deuce on.
Deuce Gruden?
Maybe there's a little scratch your back. You scratch my
Yeah. Don't ask for your $70 million, and I won't fire your kid.
Hey, look, can we do a 15?
What's it worth to you?
Yeah, 15, and this is once a Raider, always a Raider. Deuce lifetime Raider. $500K, $500K for life.
Why is Deuce making $3 million?
Annual raises of $700,000.
Like Josh McDaniels. Josh, we will offer you the job, but you must keep Deuce Gruden. Raiders, I mean, right now, if you had to set the line right now, Raiders-Niners in Vegas, what is the line? You want to say Raiders -1.5, don't you?
No, I was, if it was a week 1, I think the Raiders would be like -3. If you give me week 10, what if fucking Trey looks good? It could be lower. Who knows, right? I'd say week 1, if that's week 1 game, Raiders, Niners, Vegas, I'd say it's -3.
Deuce is gone, says a comment on the stream. Is that
no, he's not. They just
Deuce
announced
still
he was
there
on the team. Yeah.
We're talking about Deuce Gruden here.
Yeah.
Still on the roster?
I saw they tweeted out the deal. He was on the team.
All right. Deuce isn't gone. Good. John,
Deuce surprised.
Before we go any further, let's tell the people about our great friends at ButcherBox.com/ham, where you get meat, ground beef for life for free at ButcherBox.com/ham.
Yep. Guy, the steaks are fantastic. The chicken is awesome. They have sent us, honestly, the ground beef. Once you get the ground beef and once you set it up for life.
Yes.
Can you imagine the things you can make with it? What do you want to do? You want to do tacos? You want to do burgers? You want to do a little of your mom's favorite chili? Do you want to do? You want to do a little breakfast for the family? Let's do. Did
you say burritos?
You could do burritos. You could do a little. I like a little eggs. You put some meat in there. All of a sudden, you got some omelets. Mm-hmm. Or you could do a big scramble for everybody. Get some protein up in everyone's belly. Want them to be healthy. How about that, guy? How about that?
Yeah. How about some carbonara? A little meat sauce, right? That's always one of my favorites. Each box contains 8 to 14 pounds of meat, depending on the box you choose. That's enough for 24 individual meals. And right now, when you sign up, ButcherBox is giving new members free ground beef for life. Now, what does that mean? That means every box you get will have 2 pounds of ground beef for free in it for the life of your membership. So you're getting your 100% grass-fed beef, your free-range organic chicken, your wild-caught seafood. Okay, you're getting all of this from ButcherBox's meat partners with the highest standards for quality.
Yep.
And you're getting GB for life. I might make that my license vanity plate. GB number 4 LYFE. GB for life. If you see GB for life on a car driving around town on an 87 Camaro, that's me.
Yep. ButcherBox giving new members free ground beef for life, like he says, plus get a $10 off coupon. Sign up at ButcherBox.com/ham. Get 2 pounds of ground beef free in every order for the life of your membership, plus a $10 coupon, $10 off coupon. Log on to ButcherBox.com/ham right now.
ButcherBox.com/ham. Go claim this deal. All right. I like. Robert Woods, Bobby Trees, best nickname in the league, John. Best nickname in sports, traded to the Titans. Rams have extended Matthew Stafford, no surprise. Reported as a 4-year, $160 million contract. Rap sheet says it's basically 3 years, $129 million. So $43 million a year for Matthew Stafford. Johnny Hekker gone. I know I was pins and needles for that one. But what do you think Stafford does does Stafford change the way you look at Sean McVay, Monday Night Football rumors? And I guess Monday Night Football, it's not Monday Night Football. Aikman took the job. So, but does Stafford change the way you look at the Rams now that he's got a contract?
Yeah, I mean, I guess Monday Night Football's off, but Fox, there doesn't feel like going to have a huge swinging dick in there. And even Amazon, Herbie, who knows? Maybe he'll just try it out and not like it. So, it's not totally dead, but it does feel like Stafford's come in the last year of his deal. But listen, this is my issue with the Niners not being super aggressive is like the Rams are always wheeling and dealing. They wheel and deal. Now, the Stafford thing, clearly they were going to extend him. But think how fast it was like, damn, done. Like it wasn't even like it happened pretty quickly. And ultimately, to me, I hate APY. It is so irrelevant. It is so irrelevant. It's like, how do you pay Davante $29 million? He got $67 million. How do you pay Matt Stafford? It's not actually they gave him, because Stafford was making whatever, 28 this year, and they just extend 3 years on the contract and then fake years at the end. But it's like, he's under contract at a team-friendly number, right? Because the true guarantee was like 135. So Deshaun Watson just got 230. This guy gets 135. And Bobby Trees, I like Bobby Trees. A fantastic move by the Titans. But they didn't just trade him to, like, focus on Tutu Atwell. Like, they added Allen Robinson. So now they got and Bobby Trees had been injured for a long period of time, right? So they know what it looks like without him. So now they got Allen Robinson, Cooper Kupp, and they still got Higbee. Like, that's pretty damn good. Now, I like Ayuk, he's the worst, but obviously Debo, Kittle, like you can go toe-to-toe with them, but they have a huge advantage at quarterback right now, right?
Yeah.
Because right now the Rams, under no circumstances, would trade straight up Matt Stafford, even at his number for Trey Lance. They would say no. The Niners, without hesitation, would say yes.
Well, they tried to do that first last year, right?
Yeah.
And Kyle didn't get the call.
So I think they have a lot of similarities in the two teams. Right, we've seen it. Like, I mean, they have a lot of equals. I think their coaches both have some flaws when it comes to like in-game stuff. They're great play callers. Sean McVay's blowing timeouts. Kyle has been very hit or miss at the end of games and end of halves. Now you can say that's Jimmy, but it sure as shit ain't going to change year one under Trey Lance.
I would say they've actually they were better at the end of halves last year. They actually scored some points at the end of halves last year.
Got a little more aggressive a couple times, but it felt like a couple of those were like.
Part of it, their season
took a slant 30 yards.
Well, yeah, it's always dependent on that. And their season some of their games were a little more desperate, like they had to be a little more aggressive.
I guess my point is he right now, until Trey Lance proves that he's just a good player, is a huge, huge differentiating factor of why I think most people are just gonna pick the Rams. Like, how could you pick the Niners to win this division? You can't until like mid-season. You're like, oh, Trey Lance is better. He actually is really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to find some sort of weakness, you'd be like, oh, well, Robert Woods was a leader for them. Yeah, but Matthew Stafford, their new quarterback is a veteran who just won a Super Bowl. So I think he immediately gets, if he didn't already have a lot of equity in the locker room, he has it. Cooper Kupp has a lot of it. Whitworth was a leader, yes, but
that's a big like, how do you replace a left tackle? Right.
Yeah, that's a big loss from just a functional standpoint, more so maybe than a leadership standpoint, but the leadership stuff matters. But I do think, and I was reading one of the Athletic articles from one of the Rams, I expect Odell Beckham to be running around for the Rams in November. He's going to be back on that team. And he's not going to
quick. That'd be a pretty quick rehab, though.
Or December, February, whatever. Yeah, I mean, he's going to be on the Rams. The point is, whenever he's healthy enough to be on the field again, I expect him to be on the Rams again.
Yeah.
I think he's incentivized to go play for them again, maybe even if it's on a short-term deal. And I think they're incentivized to try and make it work with him.
Now they might have some special doctors down there. Cam Akers tore his Achilles in like OTAs and was back by the season, so who knows?
Now we're talking about this was the same knee, right, for Odell?
I thought it was the different one.
Was it a different knee?
Yeah, it is a second knee injury.
So, that might be a little different.
But here's the point. They really, they don't need him. They actually really needed him because Robert Woods tore his ACL right when they signed him, and it was kind of coincidence. Remember, it was like a day after or a day before. But at the time they did it, he didn't know his ACL was torn. like they're coming in with two. I mean, Cooper Kupp's a top 2 or 3 non-quarterback. Like his production. I mean, he just had the most productive wide receiver season. I mean, it's stupid. Now it's inflated. I'm not comparing him to Jerry Rice. I don't think he's better than Jerry Rice, but his production, just go to his stat reference page. It's fucking stupid. And Allen Robinson caught 200 balls in 2 seasons with Mitch Trubisky. Like he's a good player. And Higbee, Higbee's a good pass catching wide receiver. And Akers is going to be healthy. Like I'm just saying, like the Rams offense, like skill wise, is like the Niners, pretty loaded. Now you would say the Niners feel much better about their left tackle than their left tackle. But the Niners have some question marks at interior offensive line because you'd be like, well, the Rams don't have great guards and centers. Well, it's like, well, the Niners Pro Bowl guard just took off. Their center is really old, and, let's face it, love the guy's career, but he's hanging on by a thread right now in Alex Mack. And McGlinchey's coming off a major, major injury, right? I mean, a torn quad. Like, that was a pretty big injury for him. It was, like, immediately out for the season, right? I mean, I think it's fair to say, and he's not Mr. Athlete to begin with, right?
Yeah, I mean, if he was back healthy, we'd be talking about, do they need to upgrade at right tackle, right?
Yeah.
But he's not.
I mean, I think there's a chance this is McGlinchey's last season on the Niners, right?
I think so.
So
play out the fifth year
on offensive line. And the Niners, I mean, you got to let DJ Jones walk when someone gives him $10 million a year and guarantees 20 of the $30 million of the contract. But like DJ Jones has been a legitimate rotational guy now for years for them and makes a lot of plays.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a loss.
Has Kerry Hyder signed yet with anybody?
Feels like Kerry Hyder's one of those guys that like has the one sweet year, goes somewhere else, but then the other team, like, the Niners would take back for the vet minimum. But I bet Kerry Hyder still thinks like he's now in a different tax bracket. So I could just, it's hard to just go from making $800,000 to then making like $4 million and then just to come back to like the $900,000.
Got him on the Dolphins, maybe.
Yeah, I could see Saleh.
Yeah, that's right. Jets. That could be. That's a good call. But if you were him, you go, well, maybe it's just Kasarik. Maybe it's Kasarik that gets it done.
Well, then, yeah, maybe come back on the 9. That's the pitch. Come back on the vet, and then you can
do it again.
5 again.
Fixed again. Yeah. Some cars just need more maintenance,
Yeah.
So, will you be watching episode 3? Is it tonight? Showtime?
Yeah,
HBO? Sunday night? I watched episode 2. I saw there was another. Arn Tellem wrote a piece that I haven't read it yet about just what a disservice this show is doing to Jerry West. Which
he's in it.
Arn's in it?
Yeah, the second episode, Arn Tellem was in it because he walked in, that bald guy, and someone's like, Arn.
Oh, that's right. Oh, no wonder he hates it because Jerry Buss goes, here, have you met Heather?
Oh, that was it. And he told Arn to, Arn goes home.
Oh, she closes more deals than I do. Remember that? That was the line. That was Arn, right? That's who you're talking about?
Yeah, Arn takes the chick home. Yeah, or wherever.
Yeah, that's right. Wait, was that Arn? You sure that was Arn?
They said Arn, and it's a bald guy, and I was just like, it kind of looks like an agent.
But I thought it was like a Washington owner who that guy was, but maybe it wasn't.
They just said the word Arn, and that's what I thought.
Then that's But there's a scene. If people who haven't seen it, the problem I have with it is that I have a major problem with misrepresenting real people in shows. But the show is also very entertaining. I don't know about you. I'm really entertained by it. But they had Jerry West lying on the ground in tidy whities in the show in episode 2.
Guy, I mean, the first episode started with him having multiple freakouts, and it made him look like a loon. And I'm with you. I think you can easily do this with these characters in playmakers, in ballers. You're like, oh, this crazy ass coach, in whatever, the movie with Al Pacino, Any Given Sunday. Like, you could just do fake movies, and it's like that character.
Yeah.
They are using, like, I would say Jerry West is one of the most famous athletes of the last 100 years. Like, Mickey Mantle, Babe Ruth, Michael Jordan. Like, you just say Jerry West to sports fans. His Jerry West? I mean, are you fucking kidding me? And they are destroying him. And listen, is there a chance he had some anger issues over the years? Who hasn't? I too am very... I thought episode 2 was really good, but I'm a little like how unfair it is to the guy.
I think it's pretty nuts. I
tweeted it out like, can he sue? And this lawyer tweeted back at me like, you can, but usually super famous people, when this happens to, it's such a pain in their ass. Like,
yeah, I did some research on it last week. It's pretty hard to prove. It's pretty hard to do when you're a person that famous in the public forum, which he obviously is. Because you have to prove one of the things you have to prove is that you're damaged by it. You know, like, is he losing money? Is he losing jobs? Is he? And obviously he's not.
You remember Gary Vitti, the longtime trainer they had with the Vitti?
Yeah, he walked off the set.
Yeah, did we talk about that before?
I think we did. He worked there. He consulted for 2 days, and they asked him to stay for 3 more. He said no
because he saw the way they were shooting Jerry.
Yeah, and I think Rick Fox consulted some on the show and either left or didn't leave. I don't remember exactly what the deal was, but again, the problem is I'm actually pretty entertained, so I want to keep watching it. But I hate what they're doing to Jerry West.
The actor that plays Magic does a good job.
Yeah, he does. And John C. Reilly is hilarious.
But I actually feel like that's what Dr. Bust was kind of like.
It's funny. It's one of those things where I've talked about, heard about, read about. I don't even know if I ever saw him do an interview, but I've heard, Dr. Bust a million times.
Greg Papa interviewed Magic Johnson, and he had sex right next to him with a young chick. Like that.
Jerry busted.
Jerry busted. Yeah. But no one disputes Jerry Bust wasn't the only women he showed up to games with. They had to be 19 or 20 years old. Like,
I'm just saying, my perception of, like, does he have a great personality? Is he likable? Was he Donald Sterling? I don't know. I never thought he was like Donald Sterling, like everyone hated him. Like, he must have been a pretty likable guy to run the Lakers and create what he created there, right? Like, just be good at interpersonal relationships and that sort of thing. Have some, be able to connect with people and have fun and whatever. But I don't really know. Like, I'd love to know. I got to watch some Jerry Buss interviews.
You who's got to be coming in this next episode is Pat Riley, because
Pat Riley's
just quit.
Yeah.
What do you think they're going to make Pat look like?
Well, it's what is the actor's name? The guy that played in The Pianist movie. I'm doing piano. Adrian Brody, is that the guy's name? That's who plays Adrian.
The guy from Entourage.
I'll show you a photo real quick. I don't think he was in Entourage. No, not that guy. That guy's name was Adrian in Entourage. This guy. Hold on.
For those of you with black hair in Entourage, like the main character. The actor.
I thought, or maybe his real name was Adrian. I don't know.
I think his real name was Adrian.
For those of you watching the stream, you can see what Adrian Brody. I mean, you probably already know. Adrian Grenier. Adrian Grenier was Entourage guy.
This guy's playing Pat Riley.
This is Pat Riley. Yeah, you recognize him.
If you're Pat Riley, do you love this guy playing you?
Probably not. I mean, I don't know. Why? He's a good actor. I think he's why wouldn't you like it?
Does that look like Pat Riley?
No, I don't think he looks like Pat Riley. Here's a photo of him as Pat Riley.
Yeah, I don't know if I love this one, Pat. That's not terrible.
I mean, Pat had it going
cat.
on.
Yeah, Pat was smooth cat.
Josh from Succession. Wait. Adrian Brody comes into Succession? Am I not caught up in Succession?
No, he doesn't come in for Succession. Adrian, the Entourage guy. You're talking. This guy's Adrian Brody.
Oh no, he is in. Adrian Brody is in Succession. I forgot about that. Briefly.
Oh, he's the guy that the dad's meeting with.
The dad and the son meet with him like out on the beach.
Oh, he's clearly like a partner in the deal. Has some juice.
Like they got his money and he's threatening to take his money back.
Okay, I like that guy then. Okay, these pictures don't do him justice. Okay, I mean they kind of do, but yeah, okay, I know who you're talking about in Succession. Yeah.
This guy.
Okay, yeah.
Again, this guy. For those of you listening, you can do it. Google along as he's a good actor. So
it felt like this guy owned a bunch of seats on the board because he had given him a bunch of money, and it shows you. I had a wise man once tell me this: no matter how big you get, you always in some way end up answering to somebody. And even like that's a good reminder in that show. Like this guy runs like Fox basically, yet he still needs this guy, or else he can't do anything.
Right.
You know, so it always, you're always kissing someone's ass in a weird way in life.
Dominic says Brody was great in Hollywoodland with Ben Affleck.
I want to watch a movie. I
watched
last night was Hangover 3.
Was that on TV or you watch it?
HBO Max or whatever. Not the worst shitty watch.
I'll tell you, I watched last night. I'm not even sure I could recommend it, although I enjoyed it. It was called Windfall, and there's 3 characters in it. It's Phil Collins' daughter, Lily Collins. It's the guy who plays the butcher in Fargo, who's like, to me, a young John C. Reilly.
Oh yeah, I know that.
He's been in multiple things. And Jason Segel, famous actor Jason Segel.
Yeah.
Right, like Forgetting Sarah Marshall, that guy. That's it. 3 of them. And again, I enjoyed it. It's like a old style. It was a Netflix movie. It's like it'd be like a plot from like a 50s kind of thriller. Just kind of, but it's got some humor in it. I started watching, I didn't know what it was, and I was like, it had enough humor to keep me, and I enjoyed it. I would say just give it, the trailer does not really help you. I would give it 10 minutes to just see how you feel. I'm not sure, John, I just appreciated it. Maybe that's the best way to say it. I just appreciated it, but.
Sounds slow.
Yeah, it was, but it was fun. It had enough funny moments to it that and you didn't quite know where it was going. I'm just throwing it out there. Windfall. If you happen to stumble on Netflix, give it a shot. I loved just how it looked and kind of how it felt. And again, I'm not saying run out there and watch it right now if you got other options, but I'd watch Arizona TCU tonight instead.
Yeah.
But and I will.
I might check out Hollywoodland. I've never seen that.
Hollywoodland, yeah. Better
Sounds
than did anybody ever watch the Sean Payton show? Did that ever come out, or is that still not out yet?
I attempted to, and I made it like 10 minutes, and I didn't last long.
What network was that on?
It's just Netflix, I think.
Okay. That's what I meant, network. All right. On that note, big week ahead, John. Jimmy's getting traded any day now. Any day now. And the Raiders will be 2-0 by the time we do our next pod.
That's true. That's true.
All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging.